everybody, welcome to another edition of Chat and Chill with Providence Hill. I'm Elliott Gravitt with Dawson Boyer, and we are so blessed to have Jim Antonakos, who's the Director of Sales for Avery Point, with us today. We're really excited to have you out here today.
Elliott, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Dawson, you're going to talk a little bit kind of about what's going on in the marketplace and things like that. So
as you all know, the market's been fluctuating the past few months, and we've kind of come off this wild ride from when COVID started and tons of people started pouring into Richmond. People in Richmond started relocating around. But one thing we ran into a lot was people saying, I'd love to move, but where am I going to go? And through different relationships, Erickson, who's the parent company, we got connected with the great people over there, and they have started developing a neighborhood called Avery Point. And so, from our perspective where we sit, with a lot of boomers being in their houses 20, 25, 30 plus years, and some of them want to right size, as we say. They'd like a similar amount of space, but be in a different part of town. Some of them they're done mowing the lawn and raking the leaves and doing all of those things.
I am done with that as well.
So it was great to connect with the people over at Avery Point, because what they are developing is an option that's unbelievable, brand new. And so, Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of how y'all identified your current location and have gone about starting that process?
Absolutely. So Avery Point is resort-style senior living, kind of on a campus, 94 acres between the Tuckahoe and Little Tuckahoe Creeks, just about 2 miles west of Short Pump Town Center. Okay. And so what we love about the location, we call it Tranquility with accessibility. As you drive down Wilkes Ridge Parkway, it is lined with trees. It's quiet, except for the construction noise of us building our buildings. But any given night, it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's beautiful. You come 3/4 of a mile up the road, and you've got this stretch of Broad Street with every grocery store known to man, healthcare, shopping, restaurants, everything you might need, right, as well as the interchanges to 288, 64, 295. So anywhere you're going, anybody that's coming to see you has great access, and at the same time, you don't feel like you're in the middle of all the busyness of Short Pump. So we really love the location, and that's what we're hearing from folks, is that they love it as well.
Yeah, as a local, I love that that concept of, with 288, you can come in the back, kind of avoid all the hustle and bustle of going through Short Pump, coming from the east side. And like you said, I feel like when we talk with the boomer generation, is a lot of them, they want to live somewhere where it's a little quieter, and they still want to be within 5 minutes of the grocery store and the healthcare and whatnot. So it seems like y'all really hit the ball out of the park with the location.
I'd like to take the credit for that. I had nothing to do with it, but I'll take the credit.
We'll give it to you.
But it's nice, and then we'll have a shuttle that runs from our community up and down Broad Street, dropping people off to their doctor's appointments or at the grocery store, just to a restaurant, Short Pump Town Center,
right,
all those sorts of things. So they don't even have to deal with the traffic on Broad Street if they don't want to.
Well, you said resort style, so that got my ears perked up, and I want to hear a little bit more about some of the amenities that you guys provide for the people who live at Avery Point.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the amenities you all mentioned is the maintenance-free living, right? Okay. The being done with the lawn and the raking the leaves and cleaning out the gutters, all those things. Okay. So our general services does all the landscaping and makes it a place that you're proud to call home when people pull on to visit you. We have a gated community, so we're going to make sure that your guests are greeted warmly and welcomed, but we won't have a lot of solicitors in there, and hopefully any solicitors in there. And then once you're there, some of the amenities are things like a fitness center and aquatic center with 87-degree heated saltwater pool and a zero entry ramp. So, if you need that assistance, maybe you're doing physical therapy and need to get in there, or you just like swimming laps or playing pool volleyball, all of that's available for you. We have a couple of restaurants when we open. We'll be adding a third about a year in, bar, theater. And one of the best amenities that you find with Avery Point, because you'll find most of these things in other communities, but we have a full-service medical center with full-time medical staff. That'll open in December, and our physician starts in January. And so people can actually see their primary care doctor right on campus without leaving. I don't know how you feel, but if I'm sick, if I have the flu or something like that, I don't want to get in the car and drive across town to see someone. I hate the outdoors when I'm sick. Right. And so it's just a nice feature that all of our buildings are interconnected. So wherever you live, you can go right to the medical center, have a doctor's appointment, go have lunch with friends, maybe go outside, play a game of pickleball if it's a well visit, not a sick visit. Right.
That's right.
Well, you keep mentioning boomers, and I'm thinking, like, as a Generation X, like, I'm like, this sounds pretty good to me. Like, I am all in on this.
Look at this guy on the wait list.
I know, yeah. So talk about, obviously, you guys have, you're building a bunch of places. You said 96 acres, is that?
94.
94 acres, sorry. Apologize, 94 acres. So talk to me about how many buildings will approximately be, and how many places to live will approximately be at that location.
Right now we have 325 that are 99% sold out.
Oh, wow.
We are looking at taking another 200 apartment homes to reservation in January, February, maybe March of next year, sometime in Q1. And then we can really build kind of as big as Richmond will allow us to get. Erickson, the way that we really fill a void in the market is by building large and having economies of scale. And so we're able to deliver exceptional value for price paid to people who are looking for a retirement community. And so some of our communities are as large as 1,800 plus independent living. Some are as small as 400. Avery Point's going to be in the middle. If we get to full build out, we'll be around 1,100. But Richmond is also the smallest market that we're in. Although it's a booming market, we're just not sure there's going to be demand for 1,100 independent living apartment homes. So if there is, we'll keep going until people say, stop. But we'll see. I would guess somewhere around 750 to 1,000 is the best guess right now.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
When you talk about value, if someone is coming out, can you kind of talk about the pricing structure and what it looks like to actually become a resident?
Sure, and it probably helps to compare it to what we traditionally see in the Richmond market. And so traditionally you'll see one of two options. One is a rental, where you pay a very low entrance fee into the community of about $5,000, and then you'll pay a high monthly service fee. And that is, it ranges pretty widely dependent on the size of the apartment. When you go to assisted living or nursing care, that monthly fee jumps, again, pretty considerably. So it's not much up front, but it costs a lot month to month. The most common model in the Richmond market is the life care model, where you pay an entrance deposit that would be about the price of your home. You sell your home, you pay several $100,000, and that deposit declines over about 4 years. And at the end of 4 years, you don't get any of it back. You also pay a high monthly service fee. But if you need higher levels of care, they don't really raise it other than to account for meals. And so what you're doing there is you're insuring against higher levels of care. You're insuring for long-term care. And there's nothing wrong with that model. It's just a matter of where you choose to take your risk. Well, Avery Point just offers something different, a new model, which is called fee for service. I like to think of it as pay as you go. You still pay that entrance deposit. It's about the same price per square foot as these life care communities, but the difference is that 80% of the entrance deposit is refundable for life, or if you live out your life in our community, to your kids or your favorite charity or whomever you've designated. So 80% of it remains your asset. We have a non-refundable option that we can offer that's significantly reduced in terms of that total price. And then our monthly service package is just maybe a little bit more than half of what you see at a life care community. It covers all the same things. The difference being if you need assisted living, memory care, nursing care, you will pay for the care you receive at the time you receive it. And so the beautiful thing about this is that the majority of our residents, the vast majority, never move to higher levels of care. And of those that do, it's typically a shorter stay. It's 2 years assisted living, 1 year nursing care, which means people are spending a decade or more in independent living. They don't need to be prepaying the whole time. In fact, a couple who's in a 1,200 square foot apartment would save about $30,000 a year just in monthly fees at Avery Point versus our average competitor. And that's not counting the 80% refundability of the entrance deposit. So if you need that care, 10 years down the road, you should have the money saved to be able to account for it. And if you never need it, you never paid for it.
Just from a financial thinking, the 80% refundable seems like a awesome way to go in there and have that lifestyle. but then there's kind of, you still have this legacy piece financially to leave to the nonprofit or your family or wherever you designate it. That seems very interesting.
Absolutely. And coincidentally, about 80% of the folks moving into Avery Point are choosing the 80% refundable entrance deposits. Right. We didn't design it that way. Right. We're not quite that clever.
It's the 80-20 rule. It always goes, yeah.
That's right. But when we look for my in-laws, we look for them in Delaware, and they're committed to staying in Delaware. I've tried to get them to Avery Point, but they've spent their lives there. And it's all life care communities. And they couldn't get on board with, nor could our family get on board with, such a large chunk of their asset base being handed over for care that they may never receive. And they have long-term care insurance. So if they ever need it, they're already protected.
Yeah, so they'd almost be like paying twice.
So tell us a little bit about what's a typical home at Avery Point look like?
Yeah, so we have a really wide variety, about 20 different floor plan styles.
Oh, wow.
Ranging from 800 square feet to over 1,800 square feet. In fact, 1863, it's larger than the first single family home my wife and I bought.
That's right.
Larger than mine too.
Yeah, that's pretty common. And so anywhere from a 1-bedroom to 2 bedrooms with a den. And then one thing that people often sort of forget about is that we have 43,000 square feet of amenity space in our clubhouse. And so even though you might be in an 800 square foot apartment home, you can get out into the clubhouse and you have a library, reading room, and restaurant, all sorts of places to go and just relax and enjoy that space. But most of our floor plans are open concept, so open kitchens, granite countertops, really just nice finishes, very modern as compared with where I came from. I've been with the company Erickson Senior Living now for 16 years this fall. Mm-hmm. And I worked at our 2 oldest communities outside of Baltimore, Maryland. My mom lives in one of them. And the apartment homes were built, one community, in the 1990s. And so you have that very transitional type apartment style. And sometimes you can open them up, but a lot of times you have electrical panels or dryer vents, and you're limited to what you can do. So it's nice that everything at Avery Point is shiny and new, and it's the latest and greatest.
And you guys take care of all the maintenance there. So anything goes wrong in one of the units, it's on you guys to kind of fix that stuff. Is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big difference between something like Avery Point and a 55 plus, where we take care of maintenance inside and outside of the apartment. I knew a lady at Oakcrest up in Maryland where she said before before she moved to the community, when her son would come to visit her, she would give him 3 things: a hug, a kiss, and a list. And it was all the things that she needed done in her apartment home, or in her house. When she moved to Oakcrest, she started taking advantage of this maintenance-free living. And so all the groundskeeping was done. Mm-hmm. They would call her for things like air filter changes. They would call her and say, "Hey, Barbara, it's time for us to come up and change your air filter." Even if she had a light bulb that was out in the ceiling, she just calls the front desk and they send somebody up to replace that light bulb. And so the maintenance-free element is great, but what that really did for her, and what it does for a lot of our residents, is that now when her son comes to visit her, she still gives him a hug and a kiss, and then they sit down and they catch up.
Right. No list.
Right.
No list.
And she said, "Would you believe he comes to visit me more often?" Yes, I would. But they have the gift of improved relationship.
Sure. Right.
And she said they've never been closer. So that kind of thing, it's great that you don't have to worry about if the refrigerator breaks. Yep, we'll repair it or replace it. If the light bulb goes out, we'll take care of it. If you're traveling and you wake up and the faucet's dripping or the toilet's running, you make a call to General Services, still go on your trip, we'll take care of it while you're gone.
Okay.
That's great peace of mind, but what it really does is just frees you up to spend time with the people that you care about and to be in relationship with them and hopefully enhance your life through it.
So you mentioned other places that Erickson, who is the parent company for Avery Point, builds. What are some of the other cities they built in and things like that? And just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. We're the 21st community. We just got approval for the 22nd community. It's going to be in Fairfax. So we have, that'll be the 4th community just outside of D.C., 3 on the Northern Virginia side, 1 on the Maryland side. We have 2 outside of Baltimore, 2 outside of Philadelphia, 3 in New Jersey, 2 in Boston, Charlotte, North Carolina, Dallas, Houston, a couple in Florida, Kansas City, Denver, and Detroit. I think that's all of them.
So not your first rodeo.
I wasn't counting, but I think that was 2021 with the 22nd coming.
With a bullet.
Somewhere around there, yeah. So it's we've been doing this since 1983, and so there's a lot of experience And we've been able to learn, the market changes and the lifestyle changes, the customer changes, right?
Right.
Baby boomers are a lot different than their parents, and the things that they want, the amenities they want to see, the flexibility they want to have. Good example is our dining program. When I started with the company 16 years ago, we offered 1 meal a day, use it or lose it. And that was intentional. It was a way to try to force people to come down to the restaurants and have social time with their neighbors, and you wouldn't have somebody isolated. But over the years, people have said, I need more flexibility than that. So in some of our communities, we went to, maybe 10 years ago, a meal for each day of the month, and you can use it anytime during the month, and then it expires. At Avery Point, we're doing a declining balance where you get $400 a month to spend in the restaurants however you would like. So you can make that last 40, 45 meals, or you can do 10 or 15, depending on what you're getting to eat. And it does expire at the end of the month, but you can use it for guests and use it for catering or takeout, all sorts of different things. But it just gives people a lot more flexibility. And so as that customer changes, we try to change with them, and our company leadership does a really nice job of that.
I know one thing we talk about a lot with our clients is like runway. Like give yourself as much runway as possible. And, because moving is a process. And so, if someone calls us and they say, hey, we want to move next month, you're really hoping that they've done a lot of the prep work, but most of the time they haven't. And so a lot of times, we come in with a really robust program to help them prepare to move. And so on y'all side, even though it's new construction, you obviously have a lot of interest, and so you're trying to keep up with that. So what do y'all try to advise people who walk through the door and they say, hey, I want to live here?
Yeah, the sooner the better to start that information gathering journey. Okay. Every community in Richmond has a wait list. There are just not enough options for retirement living for baby boomers. And those life care communities, the rental communities in Richmond, they're great communities. You can have an awesome life there. And so that might be right for some people. Avery Point is right for some people. And we would just encourage people to get on what we call a priority list, to do that at several different places, the places where you feel like you fit in. What's involved at Avery Point is typically the same at other communities, but it's a $1,000 refundable deposit to join the list, and a $300 application. $150 per person application fee, $300 for a couple. If somebody's listening today, they mention this podcast, we will waive that application fee for them, and we'll typically waive that for a first-time visitor. So $1,000 really risk-free. If you decide you want to move to Avery Point, we apply that to your reservation deposit. If you decide to move somewhere else, we send that back to you, no questions asked. And so what that does is it kind of holds your place in line, gives you a date whereby you get priority of apartment home over anyone who's joined after you. It also gets you access to all of our information and invitations. We do a lot of social events. Mm-hmm. There are really two things that hold people up from making a move to a community like Avery Point. One is comfort level. Do I belong here? Right. And so we do these events where we bring people in and we just let them socialize, meet their neighbors, learn a little bit more about the community and what they can expect life to look like, and kind of overcome that social piece. The other is stuff. People have lived in their homes for 40 years and they've collected things, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally.
Right, sure.
So Jackie Weir is our sales associate who leads our Erickson Realty and Moving Services program, and she can connect people with all sorts of resources to help them downsize and make a plan. And so whether people are looking for 6 months down the road or 6 years down the road, you really can't get started too early, because you're holding your place in line the whole time. You have access to Jackie and all those resources. And then whenever you're ready to make the move, you raise your hand and say, I'm ready. And we just slide you right in and get you the apartment that you're looking for. But right now we're 99% sold out. We expect when we offer our next 200 apartment homes for reservation, we expect they're going to be 80%, 90% sold out with the current list that we have. So really people who are looking want to come in as soon as they can and get their information. If they like what they see, put that deposit down. We call it shop before you buy, and just stay engaged.
Jim, what is it? It sounds like things are going great in terms of trying to sell. What does it look like in terms of, okay, if this continues to go well, your list keeps getting built out, what is an ideal, like, we're going to be done building these out in 2035, or I don't know. I'm just, how long will it take to kind of finish the project out if it keeps going robust like it is?
That's an awesome question, Elliott. We have a plan in our disclosure that is probably not worth the paper it's printed on, right? Because it's already gone quicker than we expect. I think our initial plan called for about a 10-year build out.
Okay.
And it's just going faster than we thought it would. But then, lots of different things can happen, and there might be a time where we need to pull the throttle back a little bit. We're always going to be prudent about the way that we develop. We don't want to build buildings that sit empty. That doesn't do anybody any good. So it really is about striking the balance. Right now, we know we have the demand for these next 2 buildings, but nothing is approved beyond that.
Right.
And so we do them. We really, literally do them one building at a time. We go to our corporate executive team, and they green light one building at a time based on demand. And so even these next 2 that we had coming, one was approved, and then a couple months later, the other one was approved. So,
okay. So, all right. So if one of our clients calls us and says, "Hey, Elliott, hey, Dawson, somebody at Providence Hill, we'd love to think about Avery Point. We'd love to get an appointment over there." How's that process work? So a client calls us and says, "Hey, we want to come over to Avery Point." How's that process work?
Yep. They can do a couple of things. One is visit the website, averypointcommunity.com.
Okay.
And you can request an appointment or request a free brochure right there online. The other is just to give us a call in the sales office, 804-476-3400. And anybody who answers the phone can set a time for people to come in. And these are really low pressure meetings.
Sure.
This is a big life-changing decision. It's not like a point of purchase decision in the grocery store checkout line. This changes everything. And so the last thing that we would want is somebody to come in and move to Avery Point, find out this was bad. I did this too quickly without thinking.
Right.
I don't want to be here. That doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do us any good. And so we really want to give people the information on their timeline with no pressure and just being advocates for them. And if somebody says to us, "Hey, I kind of like what I see here, but I like it more over at this retirement community or wherever else," that's great. We're going to wish them good luck. Mm-hmm. And however we can encourage them and help them get where they're going. As I said, there just aren't enough options. So it's really not about us competing with the other communities in Richmond. It's about helping everybody to make the decision that's right for them.
I mean, thank you and Erickson with Avery Point providing such a great option for the boomer generation and people who fall into those categories that are y'all's residents. And I think too, some people may say, "Well, I'm not in that generation, so why would I care?" But again, it's the service that y'all are providing allows those homes to be freed up for the younger generation. So it really does kind of help solve this problem, this housing shortage crisis that we've been experiencing in Central Virginia. So it's glad to know that there's a solution out there that can help everyone, but it's also very beneficial for the residents moving in. I mean, like you said, it sounds like maybe something maybe they should think about doing for the younger generation, because
the Xers, we need a spot.
The first time I toured Charlestown, our oldest community, I thought I need to retire today.
Right, today.
And I'd also say, just as an adult child, with my mother will be 70 in September.
Right.
She is healthy. She's active. She's having the time of her life in our community. And for me, as her son, it just brings me tremendous peace of mind.
Right.
To know that whether there's a thunderstorm or a blizzard or a heat wave she is well taken care of. I don't have to worry about a thing for her. And it's just great. So it's nice, even if you're listening to this and you're like, "Hey, I'm 40 and I'm not ready for retirement community," even if it sounds good, maybe somebody is, and it brings a lot of peace of mind to the family.
Well, Jim, thanks so much for joining us. This was super informative, and it sounds like you guys have an unbelievable product and process down at Avery Point. So if you're interested in, like Dawson pointed out, if you're interested in that possibility for yourself or someone you might know, it can be a great thing for people who are looking to have a new lifestyle change, if you will, but also, to Dawson's point, an opportunity to get more housing in the Richmond market. So there's some good options, and we're here to help you with any of those. So we can help you in any way. Obviously, feel free to give us a holler. And then obviously always go check out, what's your website, Jim?
averypointcommunity.com.
Okay. Check out averypointcommunity.com, and then also all of our social sites, phrehomes.com, and then check us out on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. We're always here to help you guys. If you need anything, feel free to give us a call or go check out Jim down at Avery Point. hey, thanks so much for being with us, and we're thankful for listening. And we have another great podcast coming up for you next month.